Hello, high schoolers. Father Dries here answering questions you submitted on December 3rd. First question. Could you do a Latin Mass? Yes and no. I'll answer the no first. I cannot celebrate an extraordinary form of the Mass. The 1962 Missal, many times referred to as the traditional Latin Mass, though look at a previous video on that. I'm not a fan of that language because it makes it sound like the current Mass is not connected with, it's kind of maybe disconnected from tradition or something. So no, I can't celebrate that. I would need special permission both from the bishop, the archbishop, as well as then particular permission from the pope, which there hasn't been any permissions given about that. So only priests that had been celebrated before restrictions were put on about 4 years ago are allowed to. Diocesan priests are allowed to continue to celebrate that. So there's a handful of priests in the diocese that were celebrating it before and can continue to, but no new priests um, are allowed, have been allowed to. So the Latin Mass, I could say, is the ordinary form, where it'd be essentially the Mass that we celebrate, but instead of using English, to use Latin. I've done that once or maybe twice. I was at a parish 10 years ago, and there was a priest in the area who was ill, and he needed someone to cover his Mass at a Catholic school, and they did Latin Mass once a month. And he thought, well, this guy's young. I was with him for a summer as a deacon, and so good thing I looked at the stuff beforehand, looked it up, because I didn't know that certain things are left out in the Latin text. They assume you know the endings in Latin. You're like, I don't know those endings in Latin, like through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son. That's all written in English for me. So if I get like a brain fart or whatever, I can look at the text there. In Latin, it just has the first couple words. So I mean, more likely in terms of, I don't foresee anything in the future of doing a full Latin Mass, but more likely would be adding kind of the Holy, 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 the Sanctus, at different seasons. Many parishes in the diocese, if they do that, they do it during Advent and Lent. So that'd be maybe a first step. So I can celebrate Novus Ordo. Latin just would take a lot of work just to get prepared for it and stuff. And so, but yes, but I can't do an extraordinary form. Next question. Is it okay to crash your plane into an opponent's boat in order to defend the people whom that boat, whose boats people are going to attack? So I take it, like, can you crash your plane into an enemy boat to protect your people? Kind of they're attacking your boat. Well, yes and no. There's another yes and no. Yes, if you eject out of the plane, and so you essentially use it as a merely just kind of a big missile. You eject from it. Now, no, if it's a kamikaze. So in World War II, there were Japanese pilots and stuff that would ram into boats, and they would commit suicide in doing that. And kamikaze, I think, is connected with some typhoon that kind of protected an invasion in enemies entering into Japan, and so kamikaze got connected in World War II by Japanese pilots crashing their plane, kind of committing suicide. No, that's not okay. But if you eject out of the plane and use it more as a missile, that essentially using it as a glorified warhead, that'd be okay. But you just can't commit suicide. That's a no-no. What to say to people who are pro-choice? So many times it varies, like in terms of the importance of what's your relationship with this person, and if you have a good relationship with the person, and they're actually willing to actually talk about it. You can ask, the basic question is, well, what's the woman pregnant with? It's not a frog. Well, what is it? It's human, right? Well, it's they may say, well, it's just tissue, or it's a part of, well, it has, it's a fetus, or it's just an embryo. Well, those are just fetus, embryo, zygote, even earlier. Those are all just stages, just as infant, toddler, or later stages of development. All right. And the DNA of the kind of fetus or the embryo at that stage is the same DNA that it'll have as a toddler, as an adult. It's the same organism. So that's the argument. Like so when does it become human? Well, it seems to always have been human. The next argument would be, well, then is it really a human person? Because to be a human person, you have consciousness. Well, and when I'm sleeping, I'm not conscious. Am I a human person then? Well, yeah. So the burden of proof falls on them to show like that you're not human. So that's the next argument. After they acknowledge, like they're going to acknowledge that, oh, it's the same DNA. Okay, it's human, but it's not a person. It's not a human person. Well, what do you? So there's their hair splitting, and so you just got to be like, no. It's. I think it seems more reasonable that it's human. It's human, and they may say, well, we just don't know what it is. Well, if we don't know what it is, we better be on the safe side. If you go hunting, maybe some of you are hunters, and you see something ruffling in the bush, you're like, oh, maybe that's a deer. I'll shoot. And you're like, you don't know what it is. What if that's a person? You do not fire unless you know exactly what it is. As a hunter, as a good hunter. Saying here, if someone are going to say, well, we just don't know what it is, well, then we better be safe and assume that perhaps it could be a human and treat it as a human. All right. So I think just those and the emotional thing. Well, what about this? What about this? It's like, well, the basic question is it a human? Is it a human person? Is it human? Is it a baby? All right. If it is, then would you do that to an infant? Well, you can just kill it if just abortion is killing a child, unborn child. Well, why not infanticide? Why not just because the infant? They may say, well, the fetus, the embryo, it's dependent on the mother. Infants are dependent on the mother and the parents. They can't survive on their own. They're like locked to their parents. Like they're just like connected to them. They cry when they're put down. Like they need their parents. They need others to take care of. They're very dependent. So the argument, well, are you okay with then killing infants if the parents are like, well, we just don't want the child, this being, it's just dependent on us. We don't want to be quote unquote enslaved. Well, what all this thing, you just kind of no. Is it a baby? Because one thing it's a baby, and if they're saying, well, it's okay to kill babies and and toddlers and stuff if you don't want them, well, then you're like, okay, you're either just kind of rationalizing or you're just totally. I don't know what to do. I'll pray for you. So, last question here. Oh, that was the last question. Those are 3 questions. So one on the mass and Latin, crashing your plane, and then pro-choice. So, yes. Good questions. Keep them coming. God bless.